Hi guys, and welcome to this new episode of the podcast. Today we're going to talk about the most unique places that you can elope to in Europe, and I'm going to tackle some of the destinations that you might have not heard of before, as well as some questions that I hear pretty often when couples contact me first. So, in general, we're going to talk about the season first because that is something that you need to know about Europe is that we are subject to seasonality for the weather and for the tourists. So in the winter, all of Europe tends to be colder, less touristic, unless you go to the ski resorts, like in Switzerland or in France. And in the summer, that's when you have all the tourists, because for us, the holidays are from the end of June, beginning of July, all the way to the end of August, beginning of September. So that's when our kids are not at school. So it's 2 full months when Europeans also go on holiday with their family. So if you want to avoid as many tourists and as many crowds as possible, you should by all means avoid July and August for your ceremony. Also, even though that's when you have the best weather, it's also great if you can explore the months of May and June, or even September for your elopement, all the way to October, especially for Iceland if you want to see the northern ice, but we're going to talk about that in a second. So yeah, like off season, close from the high season is a great option if you want to have the best weather possible, like trees in blooms, everything in bloom, actually even flowers, and still have like some beautiful and crowd-free locations. So how to avoid crowds in general if you have no choice but to elope in July or August? How to avoid crowds? So the first option is to choose a ceremony time that will be around the sunrise or very early in the morning. It's super true for pretty much all the destinations because nobody is up that early. So if you are coming from like the eastern part of the world, it will be a bit easier for you to get up super early because you're going to be jet lagged anyways. So yeah, it's a great option. If you really want to avoid the crowds and you still want to go to like a super touristy location. The second option that you have is, as I said, to pick an off-season date, so May, June, September, October, 4 months, 4 full months where you'll still have like beautiful weather and nobody around. And the third option that you have is to really go off track and off the beaten path. If you're open to not be at a super touristic destination, super tourist spot in general, because even if you go to super touristic destinations, you always have off the beaten path locations. Then you can just start looking for places that are on mountain tops, easily accessible, viewpoints, stuff like that, and you'll have options that will be way easier in terms of accessibility and in terms of crowdness, I would say. In terms of accessibility as well, always be mindful of the rules and what you can and cannot do. I'm thinking out of my head, Switzerland, for instance. Switzerland, you have a lot of different mountain tops, and these mountain tops are only accessible by hiking or cable car sometimes. The cable car hours are generally super restrictive because they are not around sunset in any ways. So be mindful that you can't drive up to a mountain top in Switzerland in general. You have to take the cable car or the train or something that will drive you up there and take you back down, unless you want to hike back down. So now that I talk about that, I'm just going to give you a list of my favorite places in Europe so you can have a better idea of what I mean by all that. So the first option that I have would be Madeira. Madeira is a beautiful island that is off the coast of Morocco, that is part of Portugal. So it has the most beautiful weather all year long. So there is no off season in Madeira, and there is no like bad season to go to Madeira. It's always nice and warm, and I would not say sunny because it's a very humid island that has a lot of greenery. So if you want to see in your head some imagery, it's like the Hawaii of Europe. So you have like dramatic cliffs, dramatic mountains, a lot of jungles, and you know, like trees around, a lot of wildlife as well. So it's like a very, very rich island in terms of the variety of the landscapes you can find there. And it's easily accessible from Europe because like it's a direct flight from Portugal, which is also a direct flight from like all the capitals of Europe. You can go to Lisbon and then fly to Madeira. So it's a great option also if you want to have some like Portuguese food, which is delicious, and some European and Portuguese culture as well, because you're gonna still be in Portugal. So yeah, all year long it's a great option, and it's you might be subject to like different types of weathers when you're gonna be there, but it's absolutely worth it. Like, to be honest, just look at photos online. The second option is Norway, and it's a destination that for some reason is often overlooked by couples. Everybody wants to go to Iceland or to Switzerland, but nobody thinks about Norway, which is an incredible mine of like beautiful landscapes. So you have a lot of variety as well in Norway, because you have the fjords, you have the mountain tops obviously, and you also have the coast, which is super overlooked but so nice. You have like this very old fisherman's vibe on pretty much all the towns are by the ocean. You have the whole Lofton Islands that are super rural and absolutely gorgeous, with like beaches and mountains and lakes and everything you can imagine. It's beautiful. You do have to avoid like the full summer season in the Lofton Islands, because a lot of people tend to go there with their like camper vans to like do a road trip, because it's so beautiful. So if you can go there in May or June, it's going to be way better for you. Even like I said, September, October is going to be a great season if you want to start to see the Northern Lights, which also is the case in Iceland. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, so Norway is very big. It's a very huge country. You have a lot of internal flights if you want to go from one region to another. But yeah, it's kind of a beautiful location if you want to have some mountain tops with the variety that you can't really find in Switzerland, for instance. So the third option is actually Switzerland. Because like if you have a vision of alpine lakes and hidden valleys and mountain tops and beautiful cows, that's definitely your destination for your elopement. Switzerland has a lot of variety when it comes to greenery and green landscapes in general. And yeah, so if you want to go to a mountaintop and have a sunset ceremony, you also have the option of staying overnight on top of a mountain. There are some hotels that are on top of mountains. So when the last cable car goes down with the last tourist that is not staying at a hotel, you just have a handful of people on top of that mountain, and pretty much nobody goes there for sunset for some reason. Nobody is outside taking photos at sunset, even though they're staying at the mountain resort. So it's a great option and a great opportunity if you want to have some beautiful shots at sunset on top of a mountain with absolutely nobody around. So it's one of my favorite destinations for like for sure mountain views. Then you have Iceland. Iceland is super famous. Everybody has heard of Iceland. It was not famous 15 years ago. Nobody knew it even existed, and now it's like one of the most talked about destination in the world. What is great about Iceland is obviously the volcanic landscapes that you can find there, and that includes mountaintops, volcano ridges, glaciers, black sand beaches. Everything in that range is absolutely gorgeous. So you have tons of activities to do when you go to Iceland, adventurous activities of course, and you have a lot of different landscape variety. But as I said, it became one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world. So a lot of people actually go to Iceland. So you might run into a lot of people at super popular destinations and super popular spots, but there are still some places in Iceland that nobody goes to. There are still actually like super nice to take photos at, and obviously to have your ceremony at. So in this podcast, I'm not giving you specific places because this is against the leave no trace policy that I signed and that I'm part of. But I still give you options on my website, for instance, if you want to look at specific places to get married. And obviously, this is part of what I do with my couples when they contact me and they're like, yeah, we have this specific type of vision. Can you help us find the right location? I'm like, yes. And I can tell you, it's super surprising how many options you can find in a specific country that really match a specific vision, even if that vision is like not specific to that country, which is super weird to say, but I had a lot of fun with. So yeah, back to Iceland. Iceland is a beautiful country. It has some weather related problems that you want to be aware of, because you can run into some weather alerts, for instance, which make super dangerous the fact to just drive around. So you can just be blown off the road and just have an accident. So that is to be taken into account. That is why I never recommend going to Iceland in the winter time. Even though it's great for the northern lights, it's also the most dangerous season. So if you want to have some snow in your background and a more accessible location, I would say Norway is a great option, especially the northern part of Norway. Finland as well, even though it's much more flatter than what you can find in Iceland. But the fact that you want to get married in Iceland during the winter season makes it like more prone to be cancelled at the very last second because of the weather. So that's all I'm gonna say about the weather in Iceland. If you're ready to just like go with the flow, then definitely go in the winter in Iceland. You're gonna have so much fun. So totally different type of landscapes. You have the Azores. The Azores are some islands that are also part of Portugal. They have like beautiful islands there, and they are a bit much like more in the middle of the Atlantic, not in the middle, but you know, like a little bit further away, which makes it super prone to rain. So in the Azores, you have to be ready to be in the fog sometimes and to be in the rain, but that gives you a lot of options for green landscapes. You can go on top of volcano ridges that have been rained on for thousands of years. So the volcano itself is like filled with water. It became a lake. It's beautiful, and you have some islands that nobody goes to. I mean, not nobody, but a few people go to that are not the main island in the Azores, and where you can have some extremely gorgeous landscapes with absolutely nobody around. So it's a great option if you want something totally off the beaten path, but like extremely beautiful. The next option I was going to tell you about is Andalusia, which is a region of Spain. It has desertic landscapes that are super dry, so going there in the summer is not like a huge problem in itself, because it gets super hot, but it's like dry hot, so it's much more manageable than humid hot, if you know what I mean. So if you're okay with being warm, Andalusia is a great example of what you can find in terms of variety and diversity of landscapes, because you have desertic landscapes and you also have mountain tops, and you have small tucked away villages, and you have the towns of Granada and Sevilla that are both incredibly rich in terms of culture, and that's where you can mix everything up and have a beautiful totally European type of elopement, mixing both the cultural side of Europe and the mountainous and like dramatic landscapes that you can find also in Europe. One other destination that I absolutely love are the Dolomites Mountains in Italy. One thing to note about that destination is that it is super, super famous amongst Italians. So it's a very touristic destination during the summer season. So you want to avoid going to the Dolomites during the summer because you're not gonna have fun, you're not gonna have a good time. It's gonna be long lines everywhere. Even to go on mountains, you're gonna have to wait in line to enter any type of establishment. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit stressful and I don't recommend it, but off season, it is incredible, especially at sunrise. For some reason, that destination is great at sunrise. You go to Alpine, it's amazing at sunrise. You go to Lago di Braies and it's amazing at sunrise. Like, it's incredible the types of like landscapes you can find in this specific region that has it's a mix of Switzerland, Austria and Italy, because obviously it's part of Italy, so everyone speaks Italian. It's the Italian culture that kind of promotes, but also the architecture that you're gonna find there is gonna be super close from the one you're gonna find in Austria and the southern part of Switzerland. So it's a great mix of like everything you can find in the mountains in Europe, and I absolutely love that destination, to be honest. And so the last option that I'm going to tell you about are the islands of Greece. You might have heard of Santorini and Mykonos. These are two super touristic and well-known islands in Greece, and it's a great option if you want something that is like straight out of a postcard. It's incredible, but obviously during the summer season, when it's the nicest and when everything is open, that's when you're gonna run into a lot, and I mean a lot, of people just walking around in the streets, living their best lives. Obviously it's gorgeous, but yeah, they're here for a reason. Obviously, like, tourists are never there if it's not interesting, so that's the thing about like finding the mix and the right balance between touristic destination and off the beaten path that has nothing to see, actually. But even on the most crowded islands, you can find some hidden gems that are not touristic at all, and like, you know, buses don't go to because it's not accessible. So right there you lose like 90% of the tourists because they can't get there. For instance, I think it's like around 90% of the people going to Santorini come by boat, like boat cruises. So they have a specific itinerary that they follow. They are in a bus, so if that bus can't go to a specific destination on Santorini, they're just not going to be there. So you have some options, and you also have the option of going to an island that is not as touristic as these two. And the great thing about Greece is that it is super possible. They have tons and tons of islands that have kind of the same type of architecture, because it's part of it's a country thing, obviously. So you're gonna have tons of different options when it comes to islands in Greece, and especially if you can find some that you can access by ferry only and there are no planes going there, it's a great sign that it's going to be not as touristic as the ones that are accessible by plane as well. And you're gonna have so much fun just exploring around the small towns and then the small mountain tops. It's not really mountains in general, it's volcanoes actually. So volcano tops that you can explore, and small churches tucked away in olive groves. It's incredible the richness and the variety that you can find in Greece. And so if you're just open-minded about where you're gonna end up and what you can find there, you're gonna have so much fun. So that's pretty much it for my recommendations. If you have any questions, drop them below, and or just contact me by email. I'm always happy to answer all your questions, and I'm excited to see you in the next episode. Bye!